Hi, welcome to Manas Shil YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Tensura Volume 20. Chapter 1. The First Battle. Kondu's Arrival. Carrere heard the voice of someone who was not supposed to be here, and realized that it was no longer the time to be a spectator. It was a bit of a surprise, but Carrere was not so naive as to doubt the reality of the situation. Hey, did you miss your death? Well, I was summoned from the other world because you are not worthy. The one who smiles grimly is Lieutenant Kondu, who was supposed to have died by Carrere's hand. Unknown to Carrere, Masayuki's ultimate skill King of Heroes had been activated just before this. In other words, Kondu here is an entity, but not a living one, an Einerjar, an entity that is as real as the digital life form, but not the real thing. It would have been impossible, but through Masayuki's authority, he rushed to Carrere's perilous situation. Well, the devil who killed me, don't tell me this is the end of it. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I was about to beat him to a pulp, but you interrupted me. Kondu doesn't ask how. He does not ask back. He nods his head, smiling wryly, and says, well, that's good, and tells them. I will help you, too, but you must forgive me. It was a very natural offer of cooperation. Carrere accepted it as a matter of course. Well, what? I'll borrow it too, since I'm like this. She did not care about her pride as a demon. In fact, she seemed to be happy. And so, a powerful duo was born. Even at a time like this, the two are casually discussing. So, what's the plan? Are you going to defeat him? Carrere makes absurd demands as soon as he joins the group. Kondu seemed to be taken aback, but he let out a sigh and began to explain. Even I can't win against that thing. Kondu is a practical person. Even though he had just appeared in this world, he was very calm and aware of the situation. He made a very rational decision. But fortunately, his eyes are on the others right now. If we can't beat him by the straight way, we'll just have to use subterfuge. Kondu said and put his hand on Carrere's hand. More precisely, he intends to put his power into Carrere's golden gun. You're a little shy to hold my hand all of a sudden, aren't you? Shut up. Now is not the time for such jokes. In fact, Carrere was quite serious about what she said. But she was coldly treated by Kondu, which made her quite angry. However, Kondu was right. It was indeed an important time to defeat the enemy in order to prevent any harm from his fellow workers. Carrere focused her attention on what Kondu was going to do. Then she realized. So, this is your judgment? Yes. I put all my power into this bullet. You just concentrate on the controls. You know how to use it now, don't you? I don't question it. Kondu trusts Carrere. Carrere senses this and is in a better mood. Yes, you can count on me, she says with a big smile. With a big smile on her face, she accepted the job. Piliate was the ruler of the battlefield. Despite the twists and turns, things are generally going according to plan. What she don't like is that the death toll was not as high as expected. Moreover, there were no casualties from the enemy forces. Even if some of them are injured seriously enough to leave the battlefield, they seem to be treated with first aid using magic and recovery medicine, and do not seem to die. She had been trying to create a special force field to capture the power of the dead in this battlefield, but this did not produce the expected result. Still, I was able to integrate their power by feeding on my children. I guess you could say it's a good thing. In fact, Piliate's power is much stronger now than it was at the beginning of the war. It is not only a mere comparison of energy values, but also the level of skills of her children. Adding their newly acquired melee combat skills to the spatial domination that they had been good at from the beginning, it was impossible for them to fall behind the small fry that clung to them. However, the small fry, Abera, Midley, Carrion, Free, Geld, Gopta and Ranga, worked brilliantly together to minimize the damage. Piliate was never fatally wounded, but when she tried to defeat them, it was surprisingly difficult. This irritated Piliate. It's not funny. If we take our time, we can beat them for sure. Despite this understanding, Piliate is unable to suppress her frustration. One of the Magi named Geld was particularly displeasing to Piliate. Although he was not as strong as the current Piliate, he was extremely persistent. He should have died long ago. He kept getting back up again and again, even though she had hit him directly many times with attacks that were intended to kill him. Moreover, his eyes were also hateful. Even though he should have clearly understood the difference in power, he was staring at Piliate as if he would never give up. It was as if he was sure of his victory. You've got to be kidding me. That's the look I should be giving you. A bear is still understandable. They had sent scouts to investigate Cryptid, and of course they had been informed of a bear's army as an opposing force. And having seen their strength in this battle, they were aware of the danger they were in. That is why they exhausted them by firing 2 big shots at them, and they were not belittling them. However, she did not expect that there was an obstacle such as Geld. He was only as good as Mujika before his wrist life, but his durability is extraordinary. I wonder how long he can withstand my attacks. Piliate keeps her composure while trying her best to calm down her inner frustration. Then, as if to vent her anger, she waved her tentacles and launched a mid-air Jiri attack. However, most of the slashes are cancelled out by Geld's Chaos Eater. The remaining slashes are also neatly avoided, and Piliate's anger only grows. This is not because Piliate is not strong enough, but because Geld and the others are doing their best with their lives. Gopta overcomes his fear and devotes himself to disturbing Piliate. Trusting Gopta, Ranga cooperated fully. Midley enjoys the battle, but he knows that if he dies, it will be the end of him. He overcomes his fears and is purely working to kill Piliate. Carrion and Free were repeatedly attacking Piliate from the air and on land, fully utilizing their awakened power. Indeed, their training in the labyrinth of Ramrus had paid off. Without that experience, they would have been forced to leave the front line long ago, due to a misdistribution of forces. A bear was a bear, and she read the situation very precisely and gave the right instructions. Geld is safe because she has been changing the role of the shield precisely. Geld, however, was no longer conscious. As Piliate had predicted, it was a miracle that he was still alive. He is standing here with only his spirit. The full-body armor that had become one with his authority was cracked and shattered, leaving only remnants. And his body has long since exceeded its limits, so battered that even the ultra-speed regeneration cannot keep up with him. The reason why it is still able to fight is because of the secret of Geld's power. Geld's ultimate gift, Gourmet King Beelzebub, includes the Grand Protection ability, which increases the defense of his comrades, and the Substitute ability, which takes the damage taken by others. Grand Protection, which increases the defense of your comrades. Moreover, by combining these 2 abilities, they have completely different effects. That is, it is an effect to make others take the damage you take. Geld was able to distribute his damage to his subordinates, while adjusting the amount of damage. But there is a limit. His men claimed to be able to withstand more, but Geld knew this to be a lie. Everyone had reached their limits, just as he had. Still, Geld stood. He looked forward and did not look away from Piliate. He was following Remure's words that in a fight, the one who looks away loses the fight. It was like a casual remark at a drinking party, but to Geld, it was a great saying. He believed that even if it was not true, he could change it to the truth by his own power. This was the man Geld was. However, even Geld had his limits. Under another attack, he finally fell to his knees. I can't get up. Yufufufufu, you finally sank. Let's congratulate you on your good fight, and let's kill you once and for all. Piliate laughs. She is not showing mercy to Geld by putting him off, but is going to give him a good beating later on. It was purely an experiment to see how much of an attack he could withstand. Besides, it was also foolish to be concerned only with Geld at this point. Since the others are not as durable as Geld, she decides that she should eliminate the threat as soon as possible. Now that the obstacle was gone, victory was assured. The only concern is that Zelanis, the leader of Piliate, has entered into battle with the Demon Lord Milim, and the outcome of the battle is uncertain. It is as planned. However, the power of Demon Lord Milim was unknown. Piliate does not doubt Zelanis' victory, but she wants to go to the aid of Zelanis as soon as possible to make sure of it. Well, now that this stubborn guy is down, the rest of the mooks should go down easily. Piliate, confident of her victory, she is about to launch her special move against a bear and the others, when she suddenly stops. A chill runs down her spine. She senses someone's interference in this battlefield, in the space that Piliate controls. How can this be? There must be only a few people who can enter here. Even among the strong who have been informed of the situation in advance, it is difficult to enter this controlled space from the outside. Even if they interfered in space-time by offensive operations like Milim, it would take much longer time after the anomaly was sensed in the barrier. And yet, the person appeared in this space as if there were no obstacle. There is no one who could do such a thing. If there is, it would be more than a life form. Piliate locates the coordinates of the person's appearance and fixes her gaze on it. There, she sees a golden glow. The glint was coming from the barrel of a gun, and the muzzle of the gun was pointed at Piliate herself. The one who was holding the gun was Yellow Primordial, who had been left alone, thinking that she could no longer do anything. The target person was standing close to Carrere, and her eyes were sharply fixed on Piliate's head. It was clear what she was going to do. And it was a threat that made Piliate shudder. Stop it. Before she could say a word, a bullet shattered Piliate's head. And without fail, it reaped the very existence of its life. Thus, Piliate was extinguished before she had time to leave even a few words of resignation. Zelanis senses that Piliate has disappeared. She had disappeared, in other words, she was dead. It was a serious situation. It's time to go. Zelanis mutters to himself and decides to retreat. Milim wonders. I said there is no point in fighting anymore. Piliate's death was unexpected for Zelanis. It was enough to cause a major disruption in his future plans, and he could no longer be concerned with the immediate victory. Even if he continued to fight Milim, it was 50-50 whether Zelanis would win or not. The reason why Zelanis still decided to fight was that Piliate was planning to kill all the enemy generals, capture their power, and support Zelanis. If Piliate could restructure herself by integrating the power of the warriors here, she would be reborn as a super-enhanced being, though not as powerful as Zelanis. However, that plan has been destroyed. At this point, they find themselves in a battle that they are not even sure they can win. Zelanis is not optimistic enough to tolerate such uncertainty. Besides, there was a bigger concern. The battlefield is covered by a complex of barriers with the purpose of reducing the damage to the planet. Yet, the overall strength of the barrier has been weakened by the death of Piliate, who had been a part of the barrier. Just as Milim is hiding its strength, Zelanis is not yet ready. The decision to continue the battle was also based on the fear that it might cause unforeseen problems. Are you trying to escape? No. Zelanis snickered at Milim's provocation. Milim is not a fool, and she understands that she will not be able to give her best if the barrier is lost. That is why she set up a short battle, and since they could not win the battle, there is no reason to keep Zelanis in this position. It is true that Milim is hiding her power. She has not used the power she has in her body, and she even thinks that it would not be difficult for her to win against Zelanis by using it. However, what followed was the problem. Once Milim's power is released, it is difficult to stop it, because once it exceeds the limit, Milim loses its reason and enters into a runaway state. Milim's stampede as Free once told Clayman really existed. Milim had told her in a light tone, so Free did not think it was true, but it was a true story. Milim thinks. My friends are getting tired and some of them are even in danger if we delay the treatment. It is better to make a fresh start than to forcefully finish him off. This was Milim's conclusion. So Milim decided to let Zelanis go. Carrera confirms the disappearance of Piliate and smiles happily. Fufufu, look at that. We won. Carrera turned around as if to say so, but Kondu was not there. Kondu had not been formally summoned by Masayuki's authority, but had only forcibly appeared using the golden gun that Carrera had given him as a medium. It was such an existence that she could understand if she were told that it was an illusion created by Carrera's desire. Yes, I know. You came here because you were worried about me because I was not good enough, didn't you? Carrera said with a smile to the empty sky. It is sad, but Carrera is strong enough to bear it. That is why she decided to be stronger, so that she would not have to make the same mistake next time. Gopta was raising his battle cry. Ranga was shouting in triumph as well. Surprisingly, they are very similar to each other, which makes them smile. Geld, exhausted, falls down, and a bear helps him up as if to congratulate him on a good fight. Carrion and Free are nodding to each other, lending a hand to a bear and laughing with Geld. Debel and the others rush in to help Geld on a stretcher and sprinkle him with recovery medicine. He seemed to be in good health, despite all the fuss. As Geld and the others are carried off to Tempest, Midley murmurs with emotion. We won. Yes, Midley-san. It's embarrassing to be addressed by a primordial who's lived longer than I have. Well, that's all right. I'm a man of respect for those I recognize. I'm honored. The conversation stopped there, and for a while the two men basked in the afterglow of their victory. With so many wounded, it was hardly a complete victory. However, no one had died. Carrera was satisfied with that. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.